G'day, guys. I'm going to share my journey as an Australian actor in Germany. Um, Even if you're not an actor or interested in film, I think it might offer a bit of light entertainment. The concept of an Australian actor in Germany is in itself pretty wild. Um, I noticed in my last video I was frowning quite a bit. It's when I look at my notes. Basically, I'm in my 40s and my eyes are kind of shot to shit without my glasses. But I'm going to try not to do that in this video. To take it back a bit, when I was a kid, I knew I wanted to act. I loved performing. I used to carry an encyclopedia of comedians around. I wore a bow tie to my first class photo purely to entertain. I didn't care what anyone thought until I was still bullied about the bow tie in high school. I actually tried to convince the kid who was bullying me that it was all in his imagination, and he believed it. I probably should have just owned wearing the bow tie. So I knew early on that it was kind of calling to me. My father is a filmmaker, and I did some workshops as a kid. Then life took over. Things happened as they do, and I didn't really return to the dream until I was 30, actually. It's never too late, but I returned to the dream in Australia, did my first short film. Just after doing my first short film, I moved to Germany to be a father. And when all that went down, I accepted that the acting dream was over. That realistically, I was moving to a foreign country. I was very realistic about it. I was like, I think the dream might be over just when I'd returned to it, actually. But I was determined. So I moved to Germany, was very much focused on being a dad. At the same time, I started pursuing an acting career, which just sounds wild. You know, I went to a festival early on when I came here, and a woman at the festival said to me, she apologized to me. She said, "I'm really sorry. There's just no need for Australian actors in Germany." And she sort of gave me a pat on the head. And I smiled and I said, "Thank you very much." And I realized that often people are mirroring their own lack of work or something onto you. And it actually made me more determined. So I had done a cinematic sword workshop for film at this stunt fighting studio here in Hamburg. And it was an amazing workshop. These guys came out from Japan, this samurai team, and I was really inspired by this workshop. So I went back to the studio where the workshop was, which is run by a stunt fighter expert. I have to give a shout out to him, Joe Alexander, world record holder here in Hamburg. He was running this place, and I basically just said to him, "Can you give me a job? Like, I'll clean the floors of the studio, whatever you need doing around the studio." He sat me down in his office and he said, "What do you really want to do?" And I was sort of struck by the question. And I said, "Well, actually, I want to act." And so he just cut through the noise and said, "Well, if you want to act, move in that direction." And 2 days later, he got a casting for an international German car commercial. I won't name the brand. It's in my playlist. An iconic German car. Let's just call it that. And they were looking for a couple of international guys, and I did the audition, took a bit of a risk in the audition, and knew I was either going to get rejected or get it, and I got it. And I had the most amazing 3 days on set, driving around the German countryside, having a blast, shooting these scenes. And I realized a few things on that shoot. I was like, well, not only can I hold my own on a set, but there are perhaps opportunities here that I might not have even got back in Australia. So that was an amazing experience, but there were some complications, and the commercial nearly didn't come out. And that's the nature of this stuff. You can do a shoot and then it never sees the light of day. Eventually it did, and it was pretty cool. So I had this kind of idea that, wow, I've done this commercial, now the work's just gonna roll in. And basically nothing happened for a year or so. So I started to throw myself into jobs as an extra. Being an extra is not acting. I saw a few extras who thought it was acting. It is not. Being an extra, you're just part of the wallpaper. But for me, it was really important because it gave me experience on set. I just wanted to be on sets and observe what was going on. And I spent hundreds of hours doing extra work, actually. And then occasionally, I'd get thrown in the mix. I'd get a little bit part or something. At one point, I had 3 hours to become a fully trained paramedic. It wasn't fun. It was very stressful. I didn't even know what the scene was. We got rushed onto the set. They were overtime, running out of light, and I just had to be like a fully trained paramedic, and it didn't end well. I tried to let the stretcher, the main character had been shot, and she was on the stretcher, and I tried to lower the stretcher, and as soon as I hit the handles, it dropped, and I couldn't hold the weight. Then I couldn't close the door properly on the ambulance. The other paramedic described the experience as a catastrophe, an absolute catastrophe. And he'd seen some things in his time and wasn't good. So when I saw the final cut, I really wondered how they were going to cut it together. And basically it was just a shot of the ambulance driving off. But yeah, that was just, I was kind of thrown in the deep end, lack of preparation. I was also, I played both a cop and a drug dealer on the famous Hamburg cop show Großstadt Revier, which has been running since the 70s or 80s. Germany loves krimis and cop shows. I think perhaps someone needs to do a thesis on why Germany loves krimis and crime shows and cop shows. Mainly perhaps watched by the older folk on traditional TV. But yeah, I got a couple of bit parts on Großstadt Revier. I played both a drug dealer and a cop. It was like I wanted to arrest myself. But these bit parts were cool because they were acting and they were more involved. But every time I told friends or family that I had one of these little jobs, their heads would spin. They were like, were you speaking? Like, who on earth is going to give you German text when you can barely speak German with your Australian accent? When I try and speak German at the supermarket, people's heads explode. So why the heck are they going to put me speaking on a German TV show? So people couldn't grasp how I was getting these roles, and unless I had dialogue, they would just write them off. One day on Großstadt Revier, I'd already played a cop and a drug dealer. They asked me to play a delivery dude delivering a fridge to the police station. So I'm waiting at the end of the corridor. They're about to call action. I'm taking the fridge into the kitchen and my heart's beating, and I thought this could be my big break. Very naive, but, full of kind of romantic dreams, which is a good thing, I think. Anyway, I'm wheeling the fridge into the kitchen to give it to the cop there at the other end where the cameras are. And I give him the fridge. He signs the clipboard that I give him, and he says, "Thank you very much, have a nice day." It would have been very strange if I didn't respond. It just would have been very, very weird. So I just went, "Schönen Tag noch," which is like, have a nice day. And my heart raced, and I thought they were going to call cut and I was going to get fired and kicked off the set because you should just never speak as essentially an extra. Nobody called cut. They're like, good, scene's done. I was like, I think I just did a line of text in German on German TV. I called my now fiance. I was like, I think I just spoke on German TV. I said 3 words, schönen Tag noch. We waited with great anticipation for that episode to come out. When it came out, I'm delivering the fridge into the kitchen. It's part of a montage. There's music over the whole thing. I could have said anything. It didn't matter. It absolutely didn't matter. I could have said, hey, yo, mate, in an Australian accent. It didn't matter. It was a montage. They knew it was going to be a montage. There was music over the whole thing. So I had to laugh at that. So then I kept going for, kind of proper auditions for commercials and stuff. One night I got an offer for a big, well-paid commercial. The audition was in Berlin, and it was one word. I just had to say somebody's name, Jochen. So I'm sitting there having a pizza and contemplating with my fiance whether I should take a train all the way to Berlin and risk doing this audition, but also being like, it's one word, I can do it. And it was for very decent money. And I thought, what's the worst that can happen? I take a trip down to Berlin, I come back in one day, spend money on the train ticket, that's it. So I decided to go. I go down to Berlin. I go into the waiting room, and the cliches of auditions are true. I thought I was wearing a unique pair of shoes and pants. There was a guy in there wearing the same shoes and pants. We all looked like each other. We're sitting there. The casting director comes in and he said, this place is full. I'm going to take you to another studio down the road, or a couple of doors down. As we're walking to the other studio, I'm speaking German to him, and he's immediately like, oh, you have an accent. But he said, oh, it's okay. Like, this is just one word. I think it's pretty good. In my head, I already got the role. And this is the worst thing that I could have possibly thought. I got ahead of myself. He basically said, let's just put it on tape and it's like good to go. And in my head, I'm like, I've got it. I go in, we do the first take, and it's kind of weird, but okay, simple action, and just say, oh, Jochen, like Jochen's late, right? He's coming late. And I'm like, oh, Jochen. That's all I had to do. I do it. His expression drops, and he's like, I don't like the way you're saying Jochen. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, there's kind of no hen at the end. So it's like Jochen or Jochen. I still can't do it. We did it another 3 or 4 times. He got more and more unhappy. We went over time, and he just stopped. And he said, your German's an issue. You need to practice your German. It's not your acting, it's your German. And I grabbed my bag and left, and the world kind of closed in around me as I walked away down the street. I called my sister in Australia and went and brought a bag. The thing is, at that point, I realized that traditional gatekeeping was not really going to work for me. I had a few more auditions, and the stereotypical Aussie guy is either a surfer dude or a hipster with long hair and a mustache. I don't fit that mold, and I'm older. So, every time I submit an audition, they're always like, yeah, cool. I just would never get it. And I was like, I understand all that, but for me, it was more about time. It was like, are you going to put? Sometimes I'd spend like 2-3 days doing auditions, and I'm like, I just don't have the time. I've got a family to support. So at the same time, I was doing cash work as a removalist here in Germany. Umzug, they say here, Umzugarbeit. I was moving people's shit from A to B. And I'm a person who likes to observe. I'm a curious person. And I was obviously working with a team of internationals, hardworking guys from all around the world. And I started to realize there were these just classic moments that would happen on the van, because we always had a mission. We had to get the stuff from A to B. There was a client. There were things that went wrong. And I thought, I think I want to make something about this. Like, I think there's something. I think there's something in it. So I decided to shoot a little pilot, to write, direct, and star in a little pilot with the intention to perhaps do like a web series, but the main focus was the pilot. So I cast it, built a crew, wrote it, and shot this pilot called Tippy Top, which is also here on my channel. And that was a very cool experience, because I sort of lent into a more, call it darker comedic thing. But really it was like a celebration of the international community here in Hamburg. And it actually picked up a couple of very small awards. There's a lot of these online festivals, but it got a couple of those, which was just really cool. And the experience showed me that it was really about like taking it into my own hands rather than knocking on doors and saying, please, please give me a shot. After that, I actually did get cast in a feature film, which was on Amazon, Edit to Door. And again, I thought, wow, this is kind of perhaps not a break, but I hope that it would lead to more work. It was a very, very difficult shoot. It was ambitious, but yeah, proud that it sort of got there. But it was very, very challenging. And of course, after that came no work. So again, after that, I was just like, how can I collaborate with the people I want to collaborate with? Now I am at that point where I'm only interested in working with cool people, because filmmaking is changing. The film world is changing. I love the indie filmmaking process. And as AI kicks and all that sort of stuff, for me, it really is about the experience, the shoot, the memories I have of shoots and the ongoing stuff. It's just such a unique thing when you're trying to push this thing up a hill with a bunch of talented people who all offer something and bring something to the party. It's a very unique experience, and for me, it's really about the experience. And my overarching thing is I'm a storyteller. This video is storytelling, and however I can tell stories and what I can offer to a story, whether I'm in front of the camera or writing it, it's just how can I be of service to a story. That's my thing. That's my acting journey. It's pretty wild. It's really shown me that I don't think you have to be in a particular place. The world's pretty small these days. It used to be sort of, if you're not in LA, you just don't you're not considered or whatever. But there's so much great filmmaking in Europe, and I believe you can sort of create your own opportunities no matter where you are, whatever that may be. So yeah, I'm excited to continue to tell stories. I'm loving doing these videos because I don't do any edits. I'm not interested in hooks, kind of manipulation. Talking like this helps me sort of articulate ideas. Whether I do it successfully or not, I'm not sure. But when I watch back through the video, I then can perhaps create an article or something from it and really like refine the ideas. But I love freeballing it like this. If you're an actor specifically, or you have any questions in that sense, or filmmaking questions, I'd love to address those. But yeah, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope I can continue to offer things through my journey.